Hello everybody, my name is Fyodor and welcome to the reaction to Odd Taxi Season 1 Episode 4. Last time on we had a rather intense situation between Dobu and Odokawa, as Dobu essentially wanted to set up Odokawa as his spy and to let him know whenever someone comes looking for his dashcam footage, and him telling us about, Yano and his plans. And after a rather bad threat to Shirakawa, Odokawa reluctantly agreed. Speaking of Shirakawa, after that whole thing, Odokawa actually met up with her in the park. They talked a lot about martial arts, about what Shirakawa gets out of Odokawa, so to say, and being with him. And to conclude the episode, Odokawa actually met up with Kakihana in the bar once more, or for the first time, I think. And they talk again about love, about how Odokawa's love for, or interest in Shirakawa actually grew to the size of Jupiter. And of course, Kakihana shows the 18-year-old he's been texting to Odokawa, which, then realizes that obviously Kakihana had to lie about something to make her interested in him. After which, of course, they split up and Kakihana actually gets the message to meet up with the girl for the first time. And rather excited he makes his way there, while we learn that Goriki, the doctor that Odokawa has been talking to, has actually went missing. However, Kakihana and Shiho actually go to a bar, or a tea house I think, followed by the manager and a big intimidating polar bear with a big scar on his face and so on. And I'm really interested where all that stuff goes, and whether we actually get to see this episode, since, this is the first episode I'm reacting to blind, and the first episode I'm really hyped for, so to say. I enjoyed rewatching the last 3 episodes. I learned a lot that I didn't get on my first viewing. So, as usual, if you want to support me, you can like, comment, subscribe, or share this video. These are generally the best things that you can do for me for free. And otherwise, there's my Patreon, where you can get things like early access to non-live shows 1 week into the future, which, is Odd Taxi, and full-length reactions. So after all that, let's get right into it. Follow the link in the description and see you there. Alright then, Tanaka's Revolution. That certainly was hard to watch, I'd say. At least for me, following someone this closely into his descent into gambling and addiction. Yeah, so first things first, addiction is, in my opinion, definitely addiction is a sickness and it should be treated as such, be it gambling, be it drugs or something else. There should be more institutes for getting help for addicted people, but sadly there aren't. And maybe with drugs getting legalized more and more in some countries, we are steadily moving towards treating addiction as a sickness instead of criminalizing it in some cases even, or making jokes about it when it comes to alcohol or cigarettes. But anyway, to the episode itself, Tanaka's Revolution. Quite interesting, a whole new approach to the story. And of course, the second appearance of Tanaka. And basically 2/3 of this episode were his backstory, which I think is the most amount of backstory we got to any character as of yet, which is really weird. Basically, in his 3rd grade, the seeds for his addiction were sown by some of his classmates, except the ones that are attractive, strong, artsy or whatever, and were, popular for those reasons. The rest of them had to collect erasers and buy their popularity through these means. And he was interested in that because he started out with a rare blue dodo eraser, which I thought was really cute. But, in the whole rivalry with Sato, I think, the kid getting all of his erasers from his parents or relatives from these faraway places like Dubai and such. He couldn't really measure up against that, I'd say. So one day he found this one-of-a-kind eraser that Shirakawa gave to Odokawa in the present, apparently, and bid on it, and bid on it again, bid on it again, every time with his dad's credit card. And when it came close, when his brother was approaching the PC, of course, he's a kid, he doesn't know the value of money. Everything above a certain amount is just an infinite amount of money, and he didn't think about his parents in that particular situation, and that's unfortunate. But then he bid, $1,000 on this stupid eraser, for which he then got scammed. He didn't even get the eraser. He himself has some kind of, reluctance about thinking that he has been scammed, and still thinks that maybe it got lost in transport or something, but I'm pretty sure it was a scam. And then of course what eventually happened, even though he called himself a hacker by, deleting the browser history and so on, his dad found out. And that scene made me very angry, because no matter what, it's never right to hit your child like that. There is no amount to which it is right to hit your child, but definitely not that much, or to the extent that they bleed. There's no way. So fuck his dad. It doesn't matter if he spent $1,000 on an eraser he got scammed with. Fuck his dad. After that, apparently, he learned his lesson. Until he found Sudan, or something like that. Until then, he tended to, single player games, tended to play more of those, didn't interact with other people or compete with them in any unhealthy way, I'd say. Until he found, as I said, Sudan and the possibility of getting a dodo. Spending a little bit of money, then finding the asshole in my mind that just, ditched him. Ditch 1-1, haha. Ditched him on the eraser. And that person is actually just number 1 on the billboard in that game. Which of course gets him to spend more money, and more money, and more. And I don't have the exact number anymore. I think it was 50 million yen, so $500,000 on this, gacha game. Of course he's in there and spends more because I forgot the word for it exactly, but the fear of losing the investment if you quit now. Because, the next box could be it. The next box could be the one that frees me from this. Typical gambler thinking. And of course it's hard to break out from there. After 4 years of gambling, he finally found the dodo on the middle of the street in the night and in the way of Odokawa. A stressed Odokawa who just had a gun pointed at him and, his love interest threatened. But still, it's hard to not feel bad for Tanaka here. We don't know what he would have done if he actually got the dodo, but I myself like to think that he would have stopped. That he would have gotten his big payout or whatever and quit the game. But it's not gonna happen because he didn't actually get the dodo because his phone fell into the canal. And my heart died a little bit inside. Then he went home, apparently, after he got his phone fixed and realized his dodo was missing. Wide-eyed, not even, in his own head at this point. And I really hope that that bird died on the same day. I mean, it's really bad for him if he died on the same day, since, there would be just so much bad luck on a given day. But what would be worse is this bird lying there for a month or something like that. And I hope he buried the bird immediately and, didn't just have it lay in there for this whole time. But then, of course, he buried it in the park. Exactly. And I mean that, exactly the spot where Dobu buried his gun. Which, technically you might have thought that it was a good spot because it was just, some really loose earth. But unfortunately it was Dobu's gun box. And of course giving a sick person a gun isn't a great idea in my mind. Because as we saw, he took the gun with him, obviously. And I don't think at that point that he had a plan to enact violence with that gun on anyone. At least not consciously. Yeah, he walked through the streets apparently for 3 days, where he met the Boar comedian guy and basically reiterated his philosophy of why did you come here and is luck really that important, stuff like this. But anyway, he continues and glances to the side to find Odokawa's taxi. And of course he chases and chases and chases until he's out of breath. And I think that's when he got the idea, consciously, in his mind to use the gun on Odokawa. And yeah, so that's a new threat that he has to deal with. But anyways, I really enjoyed reacting to the episode blind for the first time actually. It was so much more fun than the other times. Although the other times were fun. As I said, rewatching it is fun to me. But, it's a different feeling when you don't know what you can expect. And I loved this episode. It was really good. And of course, I can only reiterate, addiction is a sickness and should be treated as such, and beating a child is never, 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 in any way, shape or form, alright. So yeah, that was it for this episode. If you want to support me, you can like, comment, subscribe or share this video. These are generally the best things that you can do for me for free. Otherwise, there's my Patreon where you can get things like early access reactions 1 week into the future, which, like this show, Odd Taxi here, and of course full-length reactions that you got to try out on episode 3 the last time. So, yeah, I hope I'll see you again on the next episode, next week, whenever, and until then, bye bye!